Now, I was given permission by Camille, our haunted cornhair, to edit a couple of her pictures for this tarot deck here. And in the Lisvuma language, her chant is Arnruvlat Nung Uluji Ari Uv Hasser. And typically we would have salamanders on a card like this, but here we have otters. Now, before we get into that, we say that maybe we would put a crescent moon on here somewhere. Now, as I record this video, it is a waxing moon. And will it still be a waxing moon? Yeah, I think it will still be a waxing moon when this video goes up. And wands would be the thing for this. And so we have a solar wand, a very willful thing, just carried up at the flame of desire and asserting their way. In some of these cards, they say that the prince and princess, or the warrior and maiden, is naked. Don't think that's necessary, but you get the idea. Things are laid bare and open, burning all else away that's not necessary. So in this case, we're, an owl, an altar. So the altar is the fire, and perhaps we should ad-lib an invocation. O great, mighty, and powerful, in regard to the king Ga-Op, who beareth rule by the power of thy supremacy over all spirits, both superior and inferior, of the infernal order, in the dominion of fire and south, I invocate and command by the especial and truest name and by that we worship and obey, and by the seal of ye creation, and by the most mighty and powerful name of existence, coming in and the noun and the verb beyond gender, who cast it out of heaven with all other infernal spirits, and by ye most powerful and great names, heaven, earth, and all things contained in them, by their power and virtue, and by the void entity, ruler, who brings forth like the host of heaven. That the like of you cause, enforce, and compel the spirits of the quadrant and of the element to come unto us here before this circle in fair and comely form without doing any harm are displeasing us. Are the creatures on our side in any way to answer truly and faithfully in line with our requests, that I may accomplish my will and desires in knowing or obtaining any manner or thing by which office is proper for him to perform or to accomplish through the power of a strong leader who disposing all things, both celestial, aerial, terrestrial, and infernal. Or, something like that. With the wands, white brilliance coming in through indigo and black in the shape of a wooden wand. Wands will have yellow. Wands are of salt in a way, an unconscious aspect. And the horns are sort of Aries, but so if we say cardinal is actually Capricorn. So in the age of Aquarius, we're looking Capricorn, fixed, Taurus, mutable, Virgo. And if we're looking at the quadrants, the about a week into May to about a week into August would be the quadrant of the year we are looking at here. Now, one of the things that we're doing is we're opening up our unconscious. The cards don't answer us. We answer ourselves through the cards. I did this Shadowscapes Tarot series, and I've talked about the demonology more in that series. And I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to employ in my Dark Memes series, but it's going to get into the symbolism of a bunch of things like that. Now, it's not for us in Temple of Blood or anything Order of Nine Angles related or whatever to so much consider these sorts of entities. Well, scratch that a bit, but I mean, Aleister Crowley, we don't really consider him as prophetically authoritative over us. There's stuff that some of us can use more than others, but so the toy horse there, you put the quarters in or the dollar, however much they charge nowadays to ride on one of those things. Sort of a springtime or, well, Capricorn, the warming quarter used to be considered a spring thing. So the tiger is by the tail, and obviously in this one she's the master of the toy. Not everything is completely serious with this individual, which is fine. It's how people adventurous and spirited, and willing to do things of her own nature, not things that are necessarily controlled over people. So willing to be brought into something new. We got that altar, and sometimes the defenses were not there that perhaps should be, and sometimes the defenses are there that aren't the best to be there, but not saying anything particular about the individual in the photo. Salamanders are the spirit beings of the fire level. A person has a rebirth experience of some sort, joining a different group, is or will be in their future at some point, or a new sort of identity, a new sort of title. It's mythical, it's real. And no, you can't actually throw real salamanders into the fire and they're going to survive. But salamanders are very spiritual. The will, of course, we have Agne, which is a symbol of the will here. Things are put through the fire, and the fire kind of wipes everything away except the fire, except for some things here. Awareness, transition, renewal, emotion, balance, secrets, energy, vision, the flowing motion, diversity. But otters is what's listed here. Now, as far as little reptile sort of things, the knoll lizards, I just love in the winter when those things crawl at like in October, when those things start crawling inside and stuff like that. Sort of a dream sort of animal, sort of vision sort of animal. The otter is an animal that takes care of itself. It takes care of its own. It has its kindred honor, you could say. And you find these drives and you connect it to nature, and play, but some sort of structure. It's a very social and nurturing animal. It's an animal that wants to trust society. But knows it must go its own way regardless of whether something's popular or not sometimes. Other princesses are actually more likely to go along. But you have a connection, those strings that connect to her, connect to the horse, fire coming out of the horse. The horse is the ride, but the ride is in motion when it's told to be in motion. You can be in rest when other things are in motion. There's a vape here. She said a little, well, vaping is safer than smoking, I guess. And you can go through more of the actual substance. I don't do that with intoxicants myself, but so there is, particularly with the princess cards, risks of addiction, or it could represent an addiction. But this symbol here, the Church of Hermetic Sciences, is where I get the symbol. I'm using the alphabet about the time of when they have Moses. So it's, a little bit before what they call their Phoenician 24-letter alphabet that the Church of Hermetic Sciences Order Template Astarte uses. But it's sort of like charity and struggle, war at the same time. And it definitely has that Aries sort of element. You could say that the horns here aren't so much, could be a goat, but well, I'll be more precise when I write the little booklet for this, right? And surely you can think of other entities that could fit more than just op. But we can, with that, I've talked about the meaning of that elsewhere. But so we have that boot, and we have the eye, and we have the ox head, and we have the mouth. So in the tarot, we would have the high priestess, we would have the devil, we would have the fool, and we would have the tower. And you can look at that, just spell things out, and you can look at, with the tarot, and you can figure out some of the meaning that's possible, at least in one sense. But the fire beings, regardless of what element they're part of, and whatever salt, sulfur, mercury category or planetary category they're part of, fire beings are fire beings. So I don't mean, one element or another. That's, the jinn is not the same as jinn, although it's part of them. But there's certainly beings that have some sort of immortality. So this life is full of play and your drives, but if you work it right, this carries on towards some sort of eternity. And the sun is a symbol of eternity, like in the Tetragrammaton from the Egyptian, you have the and the double H with the twisted rope means eternity. So it's a combination between the cyclical and the eternal in the same term, and the noun and verb of divine power and that sort of thing. We don't need to put it into some sort of male only divinity idea that you get in the Judeo-Christian world. Of course, a lot of Jews don't think of God as male, but yeah. So your tool, your rod is directing towards eternity, and eternity is directing right back.